Come over and sit next to me, please.
Nah, you won't be on camera. Well, just your side, but it won't hurt.
What's Bruno? This is my my right hand right here. When it comes to relationships, my right hand.
A copy of the book. I'm glad I didn't go and spend money.
Yeah, I gave you a copy, man. Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna give you a copy. Give you a copy of the things inside. I can walk you through what's in there, so you'll know.
So, when did this book come out?
That was 2014.
Okay, and you have two co-authors?
Yes.
How'd you run into them?
Actually, we, as a part of the National Staff Development Council, which is Learning Forward, they actually are members as well. And Kathy's in Florida, and she did a lot of work around parent engagement. And you see Scott Taylor. Scott was the state principal of the year in Missouri. So he and I actually were in the same. We had Ohio and Missouri connected in our conference room. Got to talking about work we're doing, and we had a relationship from there, and we all started writing together.
But you're ADD at this point.
Yes.
When you gonna get your
when
you gonna get your homework done?
Man, I gotta get done. I do have to get done, David, and that's a great point. I'm trying to get a lot of it done with the AP program that I created in Finneytown. Now it's really trying to write all that up. So I really want to get it done now. But with the transitions, as you know, moving from job to job, all of a sudden your focus changes. But I can do this now because that work is done. I mean, it's infinite. It's done. Those freshmen are through. I can now go back and say, what was the transition? Once they took an AP course as a freshman, how many more AP courses did they take? What were the concerns that the parents had when they had taken an AP course as a freshman? They can talk about those concerns now without any impact on the student or the teachers. We can talk about the parents' belief about kids being successful in AP and what happened there. I can talk about all these things now.
That's the subject of your thesis?
Yeah.
Okay. So I went to Cleveland Heights High School.
Okay.
And when I graduated, it was still
the very premier school district.
One of the top school districts. And so 35 kids that were National Merit Scholars was like, I thought the norm. I thought every school had that. And then I get here and I realize
that's not the norm.
That's not the norm.
No. So I had 3 in Finneytown.
3. Yeah.
In 1 year. I mean, it's only a 100 student class.
Right. That's pretty good. But I mean, AP was pretty much the norm.
Right.
At Heights. There were a lot of classes that were AP, although there was no talk of college credit. And I wonder about all this college credit for high school students.
We're trying to reduce the cost of students who are paying. That's what it really does.
I understand that, but I mean, what did we had a curriculum that we used to worry about, and now it's like we're jumping forward, and it seems like you're getting a discounted college degree with a discounted amount of education.
I don't know.
I wasn't structurally ready for college level classes, other than one class I had in high school from the football coach, who taught comparative government and political science.
And see, that's the thing we did with the world history. That course that we taught as a freshman, it was called AP World Civ. So it was really a very basic kind of course. About just civilization and getting kids familiar with taking AP courses. They also have AP seminar now, where it's about getting college ready, and you're doing the acquisition of skills to prepare kids for college as well. So
I'd also been in the Army before I went to college. Well, I went to college for 1 quarter, and I wasn't ready, and then I went in the Army and I came back. But giving kids college, 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds college courses is.
But I would say I agree with you in some regard. I would say also that if you have kids who've never been exposed and don't know what they can do, how would they ever learn what they can do?
Okay.
Am I allowed to say something?
Oh, yeah.
I think probably one of the biggest reasons why kids aren't ready for college is more the social aspect rather than the academic rigor.
The freedom.
They can't manage their own time, and so a lot of, especially with what I do with the kids when we go on college visits, is I want to see what their student activities director does. I want them to see where they're going to eat, and I want them to eat that food because that is their life force the whole time that they're away. So eat it now so you know what to expect. But then also managing the schedule. Like if you choose, I'm going to take an 8 o'clock class, and it sounds great now, but about September, you're not going to go to that 8 o'clock class unless you're diligent and so managing their social life.
Right.
Because a lot of college, especially if they live on campus, is all about social life. So the kids may be ready academically, but it's the social, personal self-management that they struggle with.
The persevering aspect of it.
So, did you apply for Dayton 2 years ago when Ron Corr was hired?
I did.
Did you get a call back?
Did not.
Did you obviously you didn't apply this time because they didn't even open it. They
Right.
just hired
Correct.
Lolli off the bat. I watched that process, and I was very disappointed with it, and I saw the train wreck coming. And I had videos of all the presentations of all three of their candidates, and it was, I was really disappointed in their choices. So boards do make a difference.
Well.
And so I'm surprised the board has brought you in and you're still an interim. Can you explain that?
Yeah, oh yeah. The interim part of it is, coming in, they're knowing that September 15th, we get our state data, it will determine whether we're going to be taken over by the state or not, based on our test.
They've been failing for 3 years, and
yeah, and so they were unaware, according to the board, until last June or July when the media reported. They were in the dark to what that really meant, being taken over.
that's kind of sad. But that's the state of school boards
State of
in
schools,
Ohio.
right? They're not familiar. So when all that happened, you had these new people come out and start running for the board. At that point, they started to transform themselves. As of November 7th, I think it was election day. They had 3 new board members. They went in. Saying you had a board president leave in January. They then have a new board president, and they bring another person on. And at that point, they started their own mission of transforming the school district. You had a superintendent who was in place. He retired out. They bring me in as an interim, and with the whole hopes of me knowing about the whole takeover process. If it goes down, then I can become the CEO, apply for the CEO position. If it doesn't go down and we're solvent, then I'll become the superintendent.
Was that the position you were in Youngstown? Was the CEO?
CAO, Chief Academic Officer, working for the CEO.
And how did things go in Youngstown?
You're not bad. I mean, things in Youngstown you talking with the CEO, the whole structure.
Well, I mean, with the.
But before that, it was you and the current CEO. It came down to the two of you, though,
Yes, correct. Yes.
Okay.
It came down to 2 of us, correct.
And then he had kept him on.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, there you go.
So, are they out? They're out of.
No, they're still on ADC. I mean, they're making progress. It's slow.
So they
progress.
have a CEO now, and
they're making slow progress right now. They have a superintendent too.
right.
Do you know what the setup looks like?
I do not.
Let me draw on the board so you guys can see it, because I think that helps explain a lot of the pieces and parts. Is it a black marker right there? We'll draw this having 2 houses so people can really see what this looks like. This is current, what we have right now.
Right.
You have a board of education here.
Right.
You have a superintendent here.
Right.
And a treasurer here. Both report to the board.
Right.
Okay. Under could, we'll put future, we'll put a question mark.
Right.
Thank you.
You have a CEO. That person then will have underneath him individuals. What we had though there, we had a CEO, CAO, which is myself.
Right.
And then you had the people who splintered off from me.
Okay.
So you can.
You can do either way.
Yeah, you can do either one. But this person is charged of academics. But my background of being a superintendent, it played well. Me having all these fingers connected to me. Chris did the community stuff. I was doing academic stuff. Then it flipped. He started doing the academic pieces. I started doing all the policy work.
Okay.
Yeah,
he is also an educator and has a superintendent's license.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I know
from what I understand,
he was an educator. He was an educator.
Okay, but CEOs could be anybody.
Could be anybody.
Right.
Don't have to have a.
Because Cleveland, isn't it the mayor at this point, or no?
No, it's the guy Eric. Eric's not the mayor, but Eric they have a city-run school system from a standpoint. You have the mayor who appoints down to the board, but you have a CEO works with this board. So here, the same thing will happen here. You can have, and again, people think that the mayor will run it. They really don't. They can set their own board up, but the CEO still is out here with his own people.
Okay.
And then you have 3 years of good run, you get to grade C, then you go back to this model here.
Not that model's proven to do anything either at this point.
Correct. But I can tell you, just being here on ground, and they actually have me working pretty much like this right now. I've seen changes in the system that I don't think would have happened if you didn't have the threat of being taken over.
Right. But so far, nobody's come out of academic emergency.
No, they had that 3 years.
Right.
They haven't been 3 years. This
So,
is the third. They're going to the third year.
But we have Youngstown, we have Elyria,
Lorraine,
and
then the next 3 on the block are potentials. Will be Trotwood, Madison, Warren City, and East Cleveland.
Okay, not Elyria. I thought I heard Elyria.
Then maybe on the next wave. It's another wave. Dayton's on that wave. You'll probably find Jefferson. You'll probably find. You may find others.
Merge.
Yeah, you may find
well,
others.
There's no reason for Jefferson to even be a school district.
It's too small.
315 students.
Too small.
You know, honestly, I mean, the entire district of Trotwood's the size of my high school, and it was a three-year high school. So,
true.
It seems insane to me, but that's.
It's what you. It's what. Hey, Jen, how you doing?
You have some time this afternoon.
Yeah, I do.
I want to talk to you about the budget book.
Okay.
So I'll get on just.
Clarissa, just block it in, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So yeah, so you're right about that, the size. I mean, and again, what I tell everybody, if you add Jefferson, Trotwood, and Dayton, it's still smaller than Mason. It's smaller than Lakota. You know, so it's still, everything's relative. And again, once you move out of this southwest quadrant, move to Central Ohio, everything that touches 270 is bigger than all of those combined.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So there's definitely possibilities for collapsing a lot of districts around here. And if the state's trying to get away from 608 school districts, there's opportunities for that. Some of these districts are way too small from an efficiency standpoint too.
Yeah, I mean, this rise of double dipping superintendents on the Montgomery County Educational Service Center is just insane.
Well, you have nobody who want to go out and sit in those chairs. You can't. It's hard to find people going to education now.
Yes.
It's hard to find people going to education right now. I mean, I would love to. You know, people. We're always looking. I mean, I just don't see it. You know, the notion is 50% of teachers go into the profession and leave within the first 3 years anyway.
Right.
75% of those teachers come in and leave within the first 5 years. 75%. You know,
so since Dayton has huge problems with turnover, and you seem to have been pinching quite a few Dayton people. And that's not just you, it's been happening for a few years.
And believe it or not, it's not been me. I tell you, because I really haven't done any interviewing at all. It's been Mary Martin and the people of the community.
We've got Lisa Minor, we've got Tracy Mallory, you've got
Kier Williams, Dewana Coleman, Ray Carruthers,
David White. Then, I mean, there was a social studies teacher from Belmont that I'd worked with one time. So you've got
a large number here. Yeah,
a large number of them come out of
Mr.
Dayton.
Munsinger.
You have people from here. You have people from Middletown.
Right.
And I think it's all due to a regional draw. If you see the new people.
Opperman is from Dayton Public too.
But I'm gonna say that what you look at now, the new people that are coming in, because we cast a larger net. They're coming in from all over the state now.
Okay. So why are they coming to Trotwood?
Well, I think people see the opportunities. Personally, I mean, I think this is a place where everyone comes here. You don't see this being a 608 school district. You have great people here. You have great students here. You have great teachers here. You know,
so how are they 608?
Well, and I think that is the mystery. You know, it's trying to unravel why are we 608. But I think a lot of it has to come from us having honest, like this morning, we had honest conversations with the union and saying, what are some of the challenges that you see? What can we do as administration to support you? And Ms. Bruno would share with you. She knows I'm not going to listen to the rhetoric because I know our kids can achieve. And I always use the example myself, 1991, just teaching the wrong stuff. I did a great job of teaching, but when kids were assessed on information I had not taught, yeah, they failed. But that didn't mean kids didn't learn. So we got to make sure what we're teaching is actually be the information the kids have been assessed on. And so I think it's just alignment issues here. Coherence and alignment is our real issues here.
So what kind of problems do you have with, say, truancy?
Truancy, I'm glad you said it. Inside that binder there is a list of our percentages on attendance for the school year. It's a white sheet of paper that has like this.
We got lots of them.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure you have a lot of information, Dave. I want to give you everything. So you ask questions, you can refer back to data pieces. That's another chart. That's about some data of testing, trend-wise.
Have you got your preliminary tests yet?
We have that data. We're still trying to cleanse that data. You see it? No.
I'm not saying anything with truancy, but...
No. We just do this. So it's, we'll get it out.
So you're a believer in the thoughtful classroom, whereas Libbie Lolli is all about the Marzano method.
Well, Marzano is a part of it. I mean, he's a part of it as well. You see the back page is actually referenced with Marzano and others. That's actually there. So, and I think it's really about, getting teachers to buy into a system, a belief. And again, it's about me and a belief system that I have, and going back to some
Here, it's on green paper.
That one's there. you have attendance what it looked like the first half. I'm going to show you the numbers at the end of the year. We actually kind of ran already. Let me make sure I have that information for you.
So you don't see this as a major issue?
Oh, it's a huge issue.
Huge issue.
Huge
I mean,
issue.
that's one of the biggest issues with date.
And the red sheet there, then, David, will kind of explain some of the things we're going to put in place to address those concerns.
All right.
There they are.
Thank you.
You don't have the red sheet?
I said I knew you had it on a different sheet.
Yeah,
I remember
okay.
seeing it.
So, I mean, you're still hitting above 90%.
No, but you have the state number is 93.
Yeah.
So we're not making it. Only in 2 buildings where we're making it.
Okay. So how are you gonna address that?
Okay, on the red sheet there. On the red sheet.
All right.
I'll let Ms. Bruno kind of talk you through some of those points there.
Don't make
Here's
me.
where I come from.
Ms. Berger doesn't want to be on camera.
No, that's fine, but she, because of the thing, when
Right.
my people can explain what we're doing, it's about not just knowing, but they understand what we're doing.
Well, and part of the conversation that he referenced that we had this morning was that if these are all the pieces that he has put in to support for next school year, and almost all of these, as the teaching staff, we have been doing by ourselves.
Okay.
And so that is what is contributing to the possibility of the reason why we're 608 out of 608, because we had there was Kiara Williams from curriculum was in, and we're talking about how are we able to even get to the standards, and there are so much of the day that we have to spend addressing other things that these people in place, the social worker, mediation with students, even that piece before we can even get to the job that we're hired to do. And so all of these pieces being in place, social workers, student encouragers, so even their title being changed. This before were essentially hall monitors, and so now their role is very different, where they are checking in on kids and they are tracking them, and they're essentially really inserted in their academic life rather than just herding cattle to class.
So,
if you get that.
Girls Circle. What's Girls Circle?
That's where we're going to have young ladies speak about some girl issues that we have going on. And again, that's when you pull these young ladies together after school or even on a Saturday morning with a group.
These are students.
These are students, yeah.
Students, okay.
Yeah, you have an adult leading and facilitating conversation around concerns that young ladies may be dealing with.
Okay.
Social issues, right? Let's talk about #MeToo. Right now, that may be a concern that young ladies may want to talk about right now.
Respect the game. What's that?
That's where the young men talk about issues that are addressing the needs of these young men in our community as well right now.
Okay.
Because the thing about there are many times our young men never have opportunity to talk to anyone. And David and I think our culture sometimes has it where young men can't cry, young men can't share real issues that they're burdened with. Yet still, when do you ever get an opportunity to do that? So we're actually creating time so kids, young men, can actually have a conversation. Just think about fathers. They can be a part of that whole situation. Have these men who've been incarcerated have kids. How do they know how to interact within our school system? When do someone sit down with purposely and say, here's how you can interact with your kid in the school system? We don't do that. So we have to have these, have to create a situation where we can actually talk to young men, our young students, our young fathers in our community.
Empowerment.
Okay.
Both of those.
What is PSST?
Positive supports. That's a positive support team, and a lot of that is dealing with PBIS, the PACs, where you're rewarding students for attendance, behavior, and grades. Again, civility, citizenship, all those things are part of the PSST support team.
So, you've seen the preliminary numbers, and you're not allowed to talk about it.
Correct.
At this point.
Because it's still preliminary. We're still working through our numbers right now. We're sending reports back and forth to the State Department, trying to see which students would count in certain data, because it could make a real difference in outcomes. Okay. So we're still just working through the numbers. It's just a process we go through every year. It's no different than
every district does, because we don't really have a statewide tracking system.
Correct.
And it's really hard to attribute who belongs to who for
Correct.
graduation rates, which is embarrassing at this point, because
Right.
technology should solve these problems, but
Right.
it doesn't. Okay, so you got a plan for attendance.
Well, we have a potential plan for attendance. I mean, I think with the issues that we are addressing there is with the social workers, with social workers being really support the parents and remove barriers from the parents' homes, such as looking at food, clothing, housing allowances, whatever is needed to help that parent to get their students to come into school is what we're going to be doing with the social workers. They're non-threatening to the parents versus being a school official. And I think sometimes the school officials who ask parents questions, they're not as apt to be open and honest with this because they feel like we're trying to invade their space. Well, social workers designed to support them. We have the parent engagers who will be, again, these are individuals from the community who are well respected, and they'll be making at least 10 calls a day, the parent engagers, to homes and just sharing the positive news about our schools. These individuals will also be calling and checking on the students who are at home absent and asking the parents, what can they do to support? How can we support you? How can we assist?
And picking them up.
And picking them up. They have the opportunity to be able to go out and pick parents up and students up and bring them in because many of our parents don't have the transportation needs.
Now that's been frowned upon that teachers drive in other districts.
But these are parent advocates.
Okay.
Our parent engagers, I'm sorry. There's a parent engagers who have a different role. Their role is to support the parent, to sit at the table as an advocate with that parent, even when they have parent meetings. Because many times our parents walk into a meeting, it could be 6 teachers there and 1 parent by themselves. So now they have actually a person who works for us, we're paying for, who actually asks the right questions to our staff members for that parent. So that parent is no longer feeling they're empowered. Mm-hmm. And they can also clarify questions and concerns that the parent may be asking, but not know how to ask in a manner in which we as educators sometimes feel like the parent is now being threatening to us, but because they really don't understand some of the things we're saying. This engager can actually support that parent.
So do you have some technology to support all these contacts to be able to track them, some sort of constituent relationship management software?
So what we're doing right now using Google Docs, the Google Doc form where these engagers will actually list the parents who they contacted that day and what the outcomes were. And then that information then is funneled up to our district parent engager, which is Ella Jordan Isaacs, who then, if it's information that she can resolve, she resolves it. If it's not information that she can resolve, then it's forwarded to myself or to the building administration to try to resolve that concern as well.
Okay, so you don't have this tied in to your enrollment management and caseworkers. You don't have some sort of platform like that.
No, we have social workers who will be a part of this parent engagement aspect.
Are you familiar with Civi CRM?
No, not what is CBRCM?
Civi CRM is an open source platform that came to light really around 2000 with the Dean campaign. It was used to organize the campaign. At one point, Los Angeles Public Schools was running it for their entire data for enrollment management and everything else. It was all built into this, and it was called Civi School. Mm-hmm. They sort of adapted and adopted and didn't move forward because that sometimes happens with software when you have a big enough user base and you've customized it no longer applies to them. So it's sort of forked, and I don't think it's really moved forward, but Civi can do all those things and give you actual contact management and assign notes.
I did.
So one thing I can really look into it. Well, we do have a platform we're actually using. Mm-hmm. I should say no, we really do have a platform. Sorry, we have the early warning system. Okay. And the early warning system tracks behavior, attendance, and grades, and we track that through our Illuminate system. I'm sorry, because I was thinking of some other system. When you said system,
I knew you were going to come back to it.
Yeah, we have a system now. We actually do track things. So all of these things you sent on red sheet are part of the early warning system.
Right.
Around tracking attendance, behavior, attendance, and grades.
It is a software.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Solution. It's
Illuminate.
And it's probably private.
It is private. Yes, we do. Yes.
Okay. All right.
But we'll go back and research this other tool as well, just to see how robust it is and how does it compare to what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
So, I watched the presentation.
Excellent.
And I would love to be able to share it, except that the quality is not really
there.
And I guess all versions of it that you did were
not the best quality.
I think the afternoon was better lighting than the morning, for sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what we recognize as the district that we're not there. And one of the things is Mrs. Bruno being a theater person, a music person, she brought a lot of things to my attention, auditorium concerns. She did a plus delta and recommendations already. She already has 3 to 4 pages.
That's my baby.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm the choir director, so
there's some things there's some things that we're going to be working on.
And it's beautiful.
And we know this because not only is it a place to do presentations, it's also a place that we can actually hold class.
Yes.
And we talked about how you can do some preparing kids for college. You can do auditorium style lessons in there.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're gonna be using auditorium more. There were some challenges in the past as to why we didn't use auditorium, but we're rectifying those concerns over the summer. More lighting, more security there, just making it available, accessible to the student population, more user friendly to the teachers and to the students. We also, again, there's some things we'll be teaching our students how to use auditorium. We can't say kids don't know how to use auditorium if we never taught them.
Right.
So we have to teach them how to.
But in regard to the presentation, even though we may or may not have had limitations as far as technology goes, the message needed to go out, and so we chose to have it go out however it was going out because the message is important, and you can still very well hear and get a clear idea of what's coming, and all of that, and so it's definitely. We could use for baseline data if we could go that route that this is what we want to do, and so now to put a plan in place because I would love for us to also record all of our performances and to be able to put it out with good quality. I have lots of moms cell phone recordings and my own husband records our performances and I have a video camera for that, but that's how we tell our story, and so the technology isn't going to be a barrier any longer.
When you realize that Dayton Public Schools has actually a running TV station with remote trucks and cameras that cost $10,000 a piece and can stream in real time, and you're kind of
at disadvantage. That's a different kind of budget that we're operating from. And one of the things I would say though, having Ray Carruthers who comes from that career tech background, we're looking to try how do we build some of these type programs at our own school system and incorporate them in classes and build on that. Ray has a very unique skill set being career tech based. He understands the career tech world. He's also the current president of the Career Tech Centers of Ohio. So he comes to us with a different skill set than many of us have, and he'll be able to. And his background is really performing arts. So he looks at the auditorium in a whole different light, in a whole different manner than all of us. So there's a great emphasis in supporting the music program, supporting drama, and other programs that we'll be using auditorium for. He has that expertise and started thinking about what will it cost to run those programs. He has access to the grants that may be available and things like that. So we're going to tap into those resources, his resource and knowledge base for that. Ms. Bruno just met with him, was it yesterday? Tuesday. And they had a 2-hour conversation about the fine arts, and she got to hear a lot about his background and him singing for the presidents in the past and things like that. A lot of people don't realize he's a musician by nature.
Yes.
Okay. So enrollment this year projected to go up or down?
Well, what we project in our 5-year forecast is up by 25 students, and that will actually be a positive because in the last 4 years we've been seeing a negative and a decrease in enrollment. So if we stop and increase it by 25, that's definitely positive.
Do you have open enrollment?
We do not have open enrollment, and some of the reason I would say is in our pre-K through 5th grade, those buildings are pretty much packed. They're solid, with the numbers. We don't have any open classrooms. If the notion ever came about to have open enrollment, it would have to be in grades 6 through 12. You still have a limited number that will be allowed in 6 through 8, our middle school. And the reason why is it's probably only about 150 seats open that we can actually fill if you look in the classrooms, showing all the classrooms. At the high school, you're probably looking at no more than 250 students at the high school if you had to go open enrollment.
I have a feeling if you did open enrollment right now for the high school, you would get quite a few Dayton Public School students.
Really? Okay. That's something, again, that's something as we get the school year settled in.
We get quite a bit of those without having open enrollment.
I understand, but right now, I mean,
just with the situations,
the disruption, the changes that are going on at Dayton Public, and the coaching that they can't manage their coaching. I mean, athletics wise, if there's one thing they've made a mess of,
it's just that. And one of the things I would say, my thing would be then it'd be me with the board working with the teachers and really understanding what does that do, what does that look like, and what programs will we offer to the students that are already here based on this new enrollment. Because again, with those, every student that comes, there'll be dollars that come with that. And then what kind of program can we provide that we do not already offer? But we want to just maintain what we have. We bring in new students. We want to offer some additional kind of courses that will actually allow students to individualize their learning plans.
Okay. So currently, do you have one-to-one computers?
We will have one-to-one computers next year. We're using Chromebooks. We do not have one-to-one. We had not had one-to-one in the past, but we will be one-to-one next school year.
Okay. What have you done to train your teachers? And
actually, a lot of training will occur the first week prior to school starting around this technology and what's available. We're also going to really rely a lot on our students to help train our teachers. And this is that notion of sharing responsibility. Teachers are training you on some content. Now students are training our staff members on certain content.
Do you have a program for students to become trainers?
Well, we're going to use just a basic. We're using Google Docs and some very basic Google kind of forms, but that's our technology department to work on that aspect. They'll be working on a program of how students can help our teachers. We're even looking at students learn how to do the break fix and looking at how we employ someone who can teach students how to do break fix on the computers when we break down versus send them out $75 a pop to fix, or we'll actually have people here who can actually train students because that is a skill set.
But we also offer those type of classes at the high school currently. There are media and design and classes that we offer at the high school now.
Okay, so do you have curriculum for computers at this point? Have you purchased any software? Is there anything in the works?
What do you mean curriculum for computers?
That's Achieve 3000 or any of these other guided learning softwares? They're supposed to be aligned with state standards.
In technology or in your?
No, for classroom.
Yeah, we have some things that are aligned to the Illuminate. These are just curriculum-based programs that we actually pull in test data from, those kind of things. But diagnostic prescriptive programs, we're probably at iReady. That's one of the tools we're using. There could be other programs, and what we're doing, we're really taking a hard look at all these instructional tools that we're using and making sure they're diagnostic and prescriptive and are aligned to the state standards, because just to say you have tools and they're not really helping you move the academic needle is senseless as well. So we're really focusing in right now on what we're going to use and how is it then aligned to the strategic plan that we're rolling out as well, around the 5 areas, 1 being academics, 2 being around student services, the 3rd being around parent engagement, the 4th one being around HR, human capital, and the other one being around operations. So we're looking at all these instructional tools that we have and how they all work together, because again, they have to integrate as well into the current system that we have. An example would be if you think about the library. The library is under academics, but it's also under operations. It has to be able to read into both platforms. So we're looking at a lot of those tools. There's technology in operations department right now in barcoding books that has a read into the library software as well. So it's a lot of things that we're looking at and just making sure all our software is compatible. You have software on our buses that has to be able to read back into the maintenance program that we're running in operations as well. So it's a lot of tools we're using. We're just trying to make sure everything we have is actually it can actually integrate together to actually, so when we go to one portal, I can look at, say, when is the maintenance due on a bus, have data that feeds into that says that when we need to change filters in our buildings, it's something that reports back. So we have some data.
Okay, so are you allowing the students to take the computers home?
We are not. Right now, we're not allowing that to happen.
Are you assigning computers to individual students, or are you handing them out from a cart and doing?
Well, we have a cart in every classroom.
Cart in every classroom. So they switch from computer. There's no ownership.
Well, at this point right now, we're trying to get the kids out there and teach them about ownership and teaching them around computer responsibility and safety, and also just providing our staff opportunity to really catch up to the technology as well. So when they use it, they're teaching the kids how to use it correctly.
And all the buildings have enough Wi-Fi capacity.
Every building has enough Wi-Fi capacity.
Okay.
We're actually
speed
and everything. We're actually doing a lot of technology upgrades right now, as well in our buildings right now.
Okay. I would guess from our conversation, technology is not your strong suit.
No, technology is my strong suit, but I was a part of the Straight A grant where I went to win technology in Finneytown, and I have a real good understanding. I mean, I'm not the guy who's going to fix it, but I'm the guy who can ask the right questions about it.
Okay. So, transportation was always a problem in Dayton. Was it similar here? Or
no, transportation.
Did you have kids showing up and getting home on time?
Yeah, for the most part, yes. I know, Mr. Howard, Marlon Howard, who's our director of operations, shared like in the first week, we may have a kid or two stay on the bus and parents call in. So we're working right now, again, looking for some technology that actually has like a scan card. So when kids go on the bus, it reads on a computer and says, this kid is on this bus. So it's like a GPS. So the parent can actually see that kid on the bus being transported. So we'll know anytime, anywhere where that student is at based on that little chip. So we're looking to some software right now to do that. Because again, we don't want any parent to be alarmed thinking their kid is lost. Again, Trotwood being a very small community, everyone kind of knows everyone around here, and I would say even with these parent engagers who are working after school, if we have a kid who's lost, they can get on Facebook or some other social media platform and say, hey, we're looking for this kid, and someone will be able to say where this kid is at. So we know there's a very tight-knit community here.
But you are adding bus monitors to...
We are adding bus monitors, and the reason for the bus monitors is really a safety protocol for our bus drivers. Bus drivers have the responsibility of being able to drive the bus safely, and again, with the large number of traffic detours and things going on here, we have to make sure our bus drivers can be safe with our number one precious cargo, our students. With the aides on the bus, they're then monitoring the students and making sure students are staying seated.
Now, do those aides have additional responsibilities once they get to their done? Is this just...
Some of the things we're looking at, it depends on how many hours they're working. We're working with the 5 hours a day. It could be some people coming in the buildings and providing other services, such as inventorying books or doing some other inventory of equipment and things like that within our buildings, which really supports the whole operational aspect. So there could be other things that these aides are doing. I would say one of the things that having an aides on the bus, just think about this and imagine this. So you have a bus driver drive and the kids get up and about without this aide on the bus driver has to slam on the brakes. What happens to that student? That student all of a sudden is then thrust and thrown on the floor, where if we have this aide on the bus, they can keep the kids seated so the bus driver can continue doing their work of driving the bus safely. So we already explained that. We also talked about the aides at some of our more congested stops where, if a 72 or 78 passenger bus, you have a large number of students in one stop. So we really have to have a person there to kind of help manage that as well. So that's another set of concerns that we, as a rationale to why we have bus aides on our buses as well.
How many bus routes do you run?
Shucks. I don't have that
How many
number.
buses do you have?
I don't even have that number either. If Marlon was here, Marlon can tell you that number. I can tell you many of our buses are being updated. All our buses pass the highway inspection. I know that. If you call highway inspection, they tell you we run a clean fleet of buses around here. So so some of that is how many buses are run. With our new configuration, putting our high school and middle school on the same time and our elementaries on the same time, it's changed the number of buses that we actually have to run because we're not staggering who's getting picked up and when they're being dropped off.
Did you used to have one dull time?
No, we used to have three different
to two. They did the opposite, moved to 4, and it created havoc for some parents.
Right. But I can see that. I mean, and again, this is a much smaller community, so I'm not going to criticize what Dayton has done. We're a different community here, and I think by having our campus students being dropped off at one campus at the same time, it really plays out well for the parents. Now, our middle school students will be on a different bus than our high school students, but they're still going to the same location.
So, you spelled out all the changes and the focuses in your presentation to the community. I mean,
Correct.
That was very different. You've been here 78 days at the time,
exactly.
and you came to the community, which is very different. But one of the things, I have never been to a Trotwood board meeting, so I don't know if it's the environment there. I think the environment in Dayton is toxic and it's poorly run.
Okay.
But we obviously, I mean, that could all be up in the air come September. They could be gone and be all you, or it could be somebody else.
But they're not gone even in the takeover.
Right.
They work in a different capacity, but they're not gone.
Okay, so what do you see as your major challenges this first year, and with the board, and what are the focuses? I mean, you've laid out this whole plan, but what do you see as challenges at this point?
Coherence and alignment, system-wide. Just really getting everybody on the same page and working for the same reason. Our number one resource, our students. I would say, me being here, only thing I've seen is a board that was very supportive of myself and just trying to understand what are the real issues of this community, trying to understand what are the real issues of our staff members. To the degree, if you're at our board meetings now, they're much more informational and conversational, even with the audience participants, and really trying to understand what's going on.
An unplanned audience conversations.
Unplanned. So I think the board members are really trying to understand what's here. How can they play a support in supporting the teachers and others in building a world-class school system? And sometimes I don't think they know what the issues were.
Sure, and I would agree with that. And what I can say from what I see in the change in the board meetings is that the majority of our board members have kids still in the district, and so that makes their decisions and their perspective very different when they come as a parent also, instead of just a leader in the community. There's also now an educator, a former educator, that is a board member, Michael Andrews. and he retired from Trotwood, and so has very intimate knowledge of even the history of the school system and the city for that matter. But I think aside from that, a piece that we're kind of missing in this whole conversation is not so much about what do we have or what have we used in the past, but that we are very much up the steps to a springboard to where we're about to go. And so whatever we've done in the past or had, or what are you using is kind of the wrong terminology as much as it should be what do you plan to use, what do you plan to put in place, what do you plan to research, because we only have 30 days essentially before we have kids. And so some of those questions that you've asked that may not have had the answer maybe that you were looking for is because it's all still in process. So those things are coming, but it's been a very short window to get so much growth and so much of these supports that were necessary for us to just simply do the job we come to do every day.
But you've worked with other school boards before.
Yes.
What do you think is different about this one?
I would say that the board here has a sense of urgency, making sure that we put things in place that will help these students here be successful, things that we can put in place that will support teachers and helping students become successful. Just think about even the whole notion of bringing in the deans of students now who would deal with discipline, so our principals can get in the classrooms on a rotational basis. So principals and assistant principals now are instructional leaders, no longer managers. We have the deans who can do the day-to-day management.
There's one dean per building?
Actually, we have 2 in the high school, we have 2 at the middle school, and we have 1 at each of the elementary schools. That's on top of the student encouragers, on top of the parent engagers, on top of the social workers.
It's a totally new structure.
It's it's all about supporting teachers and allowing the teachers to be able to teach.
And where have you done that before?
It's actually Youngstown. I did the same work in Lincoln Heights, which is a part of Cincinnati Princeton. Did some similar work to this in Finneytown. We didn't have as many of the needs, but we put these same kind of pieces in place in Finneytown and Cincinnati. These same kind of supports were in place in Reynoldsburg. So actually everywhere I've been, these supports have been in place. Here you come in, you assess the situation here and find out what's missing and how can you further support this community. And these are concerns and things. I think the teachers have been raising these same concerns.
Okay, so let's just cycle back in case people don't know the makeup of Trotwood schools. I mean, you got 2,600, 2,800 students.
It's right around 3,000.
3,000?
Yeah, right around 3,000 students right now.
What's the makeup of those demographically?
I would say 90% minority, 90% students of color.
I might say more than that, but
I'm saying numbers like 90 right now, but 90%. And, economic disadvantage, we have 100% free and reduced lunch. We'll actually be providing dinner as well next year. That's a structural change. Every kid, K through 12, that stays after school as a part of our after school remediation, intervention, and enrichment program will also receive dinner.
Are you providing transportation after that?
We are providing transportation. We are providing transportation.
So if you stay for after school
academics and enrichment,
anything, you can still get.
We have activity buses for the kids in K through 5 is door-to-door service, and kids who are 6 through 12, it'd be central site drop-offs, which is still very much walkable.
And you're still busing your high school students.
And we're still busing high school students.
And what's the radius you have to be outside of? Is it 2 miles?
2 miles, yeah. But one of the challenges here in Trotwood, we don't have sidewalks, as you know, so we have to be very cautious about that as well, because we don't want not having sidewalks to be the barrier for students not coming to receive this additional support. We're also looking at doing Saturday schools as well. I mean, that's another support that.
And will that have transportation as well?
We will not have transportation for that, but what we will have is an open access for students to come in and get enrichment opportunities. So you have many strong scholarly students who need additional support. The libraries will be open. We'll have professionals here to help those individuals. You have students who will be coming in for remediation work. You have students who come in who are actually failing as well, because the whole notion is A's and B's are expected with occasional C. D, you got to come in and see me. And then me, I say that's an administrative team. We'll have other professionals.
And school will be from when to when?
And 9 to 12 noon, 9 a.m. to 12 noon. And so also with that, you also have some student mentors in there working with students as well. You also have different fraternities and sororities coming in and providing support as well. You have teachers who like to come in. We'll pay them as well to come in and to provide support for our students as well on Saturdays.
And that program is not linked to discipline.
Right.
At all.
However, if you are disciplined, you will be there.
It's a different.
It's a different program. It's a different program, but it will be right.
Saturday.
There could be Saturday on Saturdays, right? It's different though.
So restorative justice and police in the schools were like 2 of the issues that threw Dan Shore out of. He just didn't really understand those for Dayton. But you seem to be very focused in on restorative justice. How do you feel about police officers in schools?
Well, you know, it depends on how a police officer is used. I mean, if they're used as a resource, and when you have students who understand this police officer is a support system and a support versus being a police officer who's put in a negative light, and I don't like that. No, I don't want that. But if I see the police as being a encourager, like working like a student encourager, and they're there to build a relationship with the students, so when they see this person outside in the community, understand this is a safe person, I'm all for that. You know, I don't want this person to be seen as a guy who's just coming in here to arrest a kid. We don't want that. And
so
I'm not so sure the chief.
School resource officers?
We have one school resource officer for the district who'll be housed at the high school though. And you know, in talking to the chief here in Trotwood, his whole goal is to have that person become a school resource officer. There's a difference between a school resource officer and a policeman. Yes. So we have an SRO, school resource officer, and their role is to build relationship with students, to help understand the breakdown of barrier between the police and the community. Not to have this person be the guard who's trying to lock every kid up. You know, one of the things in saying that, we're also looking at the possibility of bringing diversionary court back to Trotwood. We have Montgomery County, County Services, Montgomery County Magistrate, but housing it here in Trotwood because it alleviates the parents who have to go downtown to hear the magistrate speak on behalf of a student who may have done something inappropriate or based on the student's attendance. By having it here in town, we can look at the restorative practices and say, okay, this kid vandalized something. So as opposed to for restitution, we can have this kid start cleaning some things. You know, so all kind of, these are only minor infractions, not the major things. But we can really start looking at how can we help this kid assure that they understand this is their community and they should be here to help them take care of this community. And it's all about restoring that pride back into what Trotwood is all about. You know, Trotwood years ago was a destination city where people who lived in all parts around the area brought their kids through and said, look, son, if you work hard, a young lady, if you work hard, you can have this. You know, we're really working hard and restoring that sense of pride and tradition back here in Trotwood. I mean, it's a tough task, we know that, but here's the thing, I believe we can do it. One of the things we're doing working with the city is looking at, you know, there's a lot of vacant homes in the town and homes for sale. We're looking at seeing if we can get some kind of reduced interest rate for our teachers, as well as some kind of abatement or some kind of program that will allow our teachers, when they move to Trotwood, to purchase a home here. You know, I think that it brings in intellectual capital back to this community, and I think it helps us reassure and firm up the pride in Trotwood as well.
What's the city's response been to that?
I have a meeting with them Tuesday, and they're very receptive to it. The city and the mayor have been very receptive to a lot of ideas that we've thrown out there to them. I don't see them running from anything that we're saying. I think they've just been waiting on an opportunity to have these kind of conversations.
So Dayton's taken a huge influx of international students, refugees, etc. Welcome Dayton program. Has Trotwood seen much of that at this point?
We have a little bit.
A few. I haven't heard any major numbers.
Not too many at the high school. There's more at the elementary and in the middle school.
Okay, and what I would say that my experience being in Licking Heights and Licking County, I had 20% ELL students, and many of the students from Somalia. You know, so
I've really questioned the placement of some of these students through Catholic Social Services. They came to put some people in our neighborhood who'd never lived in an urban environment,
right,
and were used to being near farmland, or I mean, they were basically from an agrarian community. And Trotwood is still an agrarian community in many ways.
Very much so.
And I have.
Hence your meeting this morning.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I mean, I was driving out here. I saw a horse standing there next to somebody's side door.
Right.
I was just waiting.
But that's what you're saying. I met this morning with the farmers down at the Broadway Cafe. I met with the farmers this morning, just kind of talking about how can we, as a school district, be more supportive and understand the needs of the farmers. And I'll be meeting every Friday over at the Broadway Cafe from 7 to 8:30 every morning for people just to come in and have dinner.
That's your open door policy.
Yeah, open door policy every Friday there. If it's not myself, there will definitely be a representative from the district office and maybe in the high school principal. I'm also going to have open door policy on Tuesday evenings here at the district from 5 to 8 p.m. as well, so people can come in, just want to talk about the concerns they have, and it's an opportunity for me to listen to them.
Are you living in the community?
Actually, I'm standing up right now, standing in the hotel. Once the September 15th happens and I can reaffirm, I would love to. Actually, I'm looking at the house right across the street from the high school. But I can't.
Walk to work is great.
No,
I got that.
It'll be wonderful.
I got this.
It's a little lodge, so I'm really looking forward to putting my roots down here. Again, my wife's from Dayton, and I think a lot of people may not know that my wife's she's a Chaminade grad, but she went to Residence Park Schools and went to Chaminade 9 through 12. But she's from here. Her family's still here. All my in-laws are here.
And you went to Princeton.
I went to Cincinnati, Princeton, Cincinnati, correct.
And at that time, that was one of the top schools.
Well, I think it was the best school in the state yet. I'm messing with you because I think the rival was. your school.
Yeah, we were rivals, and it's funny because one of my best friends was a year behind me in high school, and he moved down here and finished off his senior year.
Okay.
And you know his little brother.
Who was that?
Trevor Brentley.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've known Trevor since he was.
Okay. Gotcha.
Annoying.
Yeah. Wonderful. I mean, so you know, my experiences in being from Princeton.
Right.
Even Trotwood reminds me a lot of the communities that I've seen in the Princeton City School
But in Princeton,
District.
I mean, what was the minority makeup when you were there?
Well, it depends on which community. Princeton's made up of 7 different communities. So
The high school, though.
The high school is made up of 7 different communities. I went to one school.
Right. So what was the school's makeup?
At the high school at that time, it was probably 40% minority, 6% white.
Okay.
But if you come out of certain communities, you came out of Lincoln Heights, it was 100% African American.
Okay.
That was the community I came up out of. So I know what that looks like. If you look at Woodlawn, Woodlawn was probably 75% minority, 25% white. If you came out of Sharonville, it was probably 95% Caucasian, 5% minority.
Right.
So it depends on what, you know, Springdale was probably 50-50. So it depends. So out of each of these 7 communities brought their own flavor to Princeton. I thought that then was the diversity.
And then that
Maybe
your high
Princeton
school class was 800, 900 people?
Well, yeah, I think we had like 700 in
700.
my 700 in my class. It was a large class. So again, I understand what big looks like.
Right.
But you look at Princeton right now, it's gone through what everyone's gone through, urban decay, and the numbers in that school district have decreased. I mean, I think a graduating class now may have 450 students.
Okay.
So there's a huge difference in what we see here. We have 100 or 200 kids possibly maximum coming out. You know, and again, we're trying to grow those numbers. Again, I think we will grow the numbers as individuals and parents start to see that the supports are here to support kids, and we're doing the right things. I'll tell you another thing I look at when I was coming to town. You know, this community has a state champion football team just last year. They have a state runner-up basketball team. They had the #1 team in girls basketball in the state.
Track.
But track, another, you know, wrestling, tennis. But the challenge is, if you go around town, do you see anything to represent that? I don't see anything. So I'm telling you, by the end of July, you will see some signs up talking about the pride and tradition and what it means to be a Ram here. You know, we got to start advocating and educating individuals on this being a school of pride. So when you asked that question earlier about 608, there's no way you can have state championship teams and be a failing school system.
Yes.
You know, because what it says is these kids know how to persist. They have pride. They have purpose. Now we got to now share what does that look like not only on the field, how does that play out in the classroom? You know, how does that play out with us helping our teachers bring back Ram Nation on Fridays where everyone's wearing a red and black around here? You know, we got to go back and build that because it shares to the kids and says to kids, we believe in you.
And what's the GPA of our?
Of GPA.
Cumulative
There you go. For the
football
football team, 3.2 GPA. The
That's
boys,
solid.
the girls basketball team,
there are
3.5. Yeah, 4 Division I athletes.
45
Girls
kids.
are always smarter.
Well,
than
I'm saying,
boys.
but yeah, here's what I'm saying. You have 4
I follow UD women's
Well, yeah,
basketball.
right.
They
are sharp. They're
far
sharp.
out.
They're sharp. But the
Very
young ladies, but
competitive.
3.5 and 4 Division I athletes off our girls basketball team. We got scholarships.
Right.
That's impressive. You know, so when you come into a community and you hear these numbers about, first thing you think in 608, the athletes are not making it. Okay, now your football team, 3.2, oh, they're making it happen. So how do we help the rest of the school culture and the community understand that it's not our athletes who are struggling. These are typical students who are not involved. So we're building programs at the middle school.
Activities.
We're building student activities.
So your prediction 3 years from now?
3 years from now, I see the community, if it's taken over, going back to the community, because the teachers have really.
Where do you see yourself from 608? How many steps up?
I want to be ambitious. I would say we're going to be in the middle third.
So you're saying you're going to be somewhere between 400 and 200?
I would say so.
Okay.
You know, again, I'm saying that because of the staff.
Next year.
I would say the staff. I wanted to say it, but I didn't want to say it now. But I'm with you. I'm saying because here's why. I would say it's based on the board, where they are and how they're very supportive. I would say it's based on the teachers and the teachers union and the relationship that we have. I would say it's based on the administrative team that we're assembling right now.
So were you actually here when class was in session?
I was actually here, yes.
So
yes.
did you get in to see
Oh, yeah.
teachers in the
Oh, yeah.
classroom?
Oh, yeah, I got in to see teachers in class.
Did you see competent teachers?
I've seen competent teachers. I've also seen a lot of challenges. And there's a lot of things I've been working with the board president on, and we'll share with teachers. Here's some things we got to get better at. I think, again, as we put these pieces of supports in place, it helps the teachers be able to do their work to teach. I know we put a lot of things in place this summer, and we've seen a difference in instruction over the summer. You know, not only from a teaching standpoint, student behaviors. And with administration, we had administration learning how to do the walkthroughs this summer, going to classes all the time, to where the student in summer school, where the students didn't pay attention to the adults anymore, because adults are always in their classroom now, watching what's going on. So it's going to be a change in culture.
How many kids do you have enrolled in summer school?
We have right around 300 students in summer school.
Was it hard to get 300?
I don't know. I'm not sure if it was hard, but we had a very much focused effort primarily on the third grade students, trying to get those students in because of the third grade guarantee, and providing them with the depth of knowledge that they need so they can pass the state assessment and/or some alternative assessment.
So what were your numbers on third grade last year?
On that sheet right there, I have it for you. It's a sheet that's right there.
Lots of sheets.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's lots of data, man. One of the things you'll find out about myself and the team here, we're data driven. We're not just throwing fluff out there at anyone. We're going to be very honest about who we are and what we're doing. We're not afraid of what the data says, because here's the thing. Myself, along with my team members here, and creating a professional learning community, we can achieve anything.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, it's strange. It goes 73.9 to 25.9 to 50.6 to
But that
39.
was the change in the test also.
Yeah,
Change in tests. Some of it's change in tests. But again, I think...
Have you considered the Dolly Parton Imagination Learning Library for Trotwood?
No, what's that? No, what is that?
You're not familiar?
No, I'm not familiar with it. What are you talking about?
Dolly Parton Imagination Learning Library starts sending books to kids'
Oh,
house
yeah.
every month. That's
We
personalized
did that.
and structured for them, starting at like 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been shown the entire state of Tennessee has now adopted it. They use it in Greene County, they use it in Middletown, they use it in Cleveland Heights.
Okay.
And it's
We have had
shown,
that program.
But I haven't seen. I mean,
It's called something different.
well, this delivers for about $20, $25 a year. It delivers 12 books a year.
per kid.
Per kid.
Oh, $20 per kid.
Per kid.
Okay. Well,
And delivers them personalized books that they own.
Right.
Kids
into the
read
home.
now. That's what it is.
okay.
Here.
So there may be something here again as I'm learning about some of the other programs. I can share with you one of the things we are about to do. We're about to invest about $150,000 in our libraries.
Mm-hmm.
As I look in our high school library, the average age of the book is probably 1992. And if you look at the average age of the books inside the middle school, which I have not seen any books sitting on library shelves, it says 1989.
Yeah, but you do realize that there's lots of stuff to read online, and if these kids don't have computers at home.
Okay, so that's the whole point that you just said. There's lots of things to read online. We're going to actually have some things we're actually buying. If we put things inside the library, we can actually start checking them out.
Mm-hmm.
But to have kids have dated material 1989 and 1992 and expect them to be competitive with students who are reading material in 2015.
Right. Have
or
you done the
2018.
assessment of, how many kids have internet access at home at this
We
point?
have not done that yet. Haven't been here long enough. There's 3 surveys we're going to do here in the first month of school.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at the 5 Essentials survey.
What's 5 essentials?
5 Essentials is where it's a holistic view of the students and parents in the community and what are the needs. We're going to do a Youth Truth survey, Youth Truth,
Okay.
which looks at how does students perceive their teachers, and we'll do that a couple of times, one time a year, but over the next 3 years to find out how perceptions changed about students and how they feel about what they feel about their teachers.
Okay.
We're going to do an orgometrics survey, and that's really about the teachers and how they feel if the organization is supporting them. And because, and again, that'll be one of those things that we do once every year as well to see if we can actually change the perceptions or feelings and how teachers perceive this district and support them in their
Okay.
work. Some of the challenges I would say is with those surveys there. I wish we had did these surveys back in April. And here's why I say that, because there's been a lot of change since April and today in the first 75 days. The teachers, the union, the administration, there's lots of adjustments going on, and then people are really working together. We're all rowing in the same direction. I think people are starting to see the mission and vision. Initially it was in pieces, but now I think they're starting to see how all these ingredients put together in this pie makes a very sweet pie.
Okay.
So
All right. You got anything you just want to say to the public? That
yeah, I would say, as we go through some of these documents here, we talked about the red sheet, which is all the social services. I think one of the biggest pieces, David, if you look at the attendance, so look at our attendance for all our schools.
Right.
Again, we need to be at 93%. If you look at our ELC, Early Learning Center, that's our pre-K 1 building, we're at 92.8.
Right.
Our Madison Park was 94, that's the 2nd and 3rd grade building.
Right.
Our Westbrook Village was 93.7. So you have 2 schools so far at the elementary levels that made it. You have 1 that did not make it. At the middle school, you have 91.1%. That means administration we have to do a better job of building relationship with students to get them to come to school. At the high school, we had a 90.5%.
Right.
That's
unacceptable.
well, that's right. So these are kind of things I work on. That green sheet you have there, David. Look at the number of student days kids have missed.
Right.
It's many days of absences there that our students have missed. If you flip that sheet, that same green sheet over on the back, Look how many kids have. We broke it down by how many kids have missed X number of days.
Yeah.
You know, even the number of kids who are over 30 days. Look at that. I mean, that number is staggering.
Yeah.
You know, so we have to start asking ourselves, what are we doing? What are we putting in place to address those needs coming into the 18-19 school year?
But we even did the data per month. Yes, so
we
that
did
we
it
can see if
Yeah.
there's specific months where there are more absences
than others.
I think a couple of things that should be said about our district is that even though we are at the bottom and in the shadow of state takeover, we don't have some of the struggles that some of those other districts did have. Financially, we are not in trouble.
Right.
And will not be in trouble for a long time,
Right.
even with the current enrollment. And I want to touch on our transportation because it is a direct impact to my program, but there are a lot of districts that do not support transportation, to extracurricular things, to supplemental enrichment things, and we have busing for everything. If I take the kids on a college visit within, the state, there's always a bus. We are part of Muse Machine, and everything that we do, there's no matter what the field trip is, there's no barriers as far as transportation.
I frankly don't understand how Dayton can sit there and say they're addressing problems when they don't bus their high school students.
Absolutely.
I mean, it boggles my mind.
Absolutely.
These people are so out of touch with what you need to do to make this work.
And they start their kids in with the public and then expect them to come and still be a kid, but they've started their day with adults and
whole thing's a disaster.
But so Trotwood is very unique, and you've asked a lot of questions about, well, in Dayton it's this, and so how's it different here? We are not Dayton.
Yeah, but you do realize you're 608 and they're 607, so that's
right.
you're
both at the bottom, but different
joint.
I think she's saying we have a different set of needs, and we're attacking our needs maybe a little differently than what they're doing there. We can't solve their problems based on where they are with the needs of our community. It is different. I mean, I'll say it's all about the learning.
Right.
All about the learning
One
for the
middle
adults.
School, one high school.
All about the learning for the students. All about the learning for the parents of the community. All about the city learning. It's all about learning for everyone here. We're not blaming and shaming, but we're also not taking excuses. And I think if you look at the mayor and what she's done in the city, they're not taking excuses either. As a school district, we know we're not taking excuses. I think we ask the teachers, they want to not take any excuses anymore. Right. And I think you see the A, B, C with occasional D. I mean, A, B's and occasional C with the D coming to Saturday school. I think that says no excuses anymore. Kids have put themselves in these situations where they're failing academically. We're going to provide additional supports to help those students work themselves out of it. We're removing all barriers for student learning here. We're removing all barriers for teacher learning. We're removing all barriers for adult learning, no matter what, whether it be the teachers or administration. And what we're doing, one of the things we're doing for our administrators and teachers is Saturday workshops, one Saturday a month. For the assistant principals, deans, and principals, we're trying to provide training for them so they can actually sharpen their saw one Saturday a month. For the teachers who are looking to go into leadership positions, we're looking to sharpen their saw as well by giving them opportunities to become more into the leadership realm, giving them a project to work on for the year, because that helps us as an organization become stronger. We're looking at the PASS program, which is a collaboration with the Central State. PASS stands for Parents as Substitute Teachers, and looking for these parents who can come in and provide the supports in the classroom so our parents understand what's going on. We're looking at hiring many more parents from the community to be parent engagers, because we understand when these moms are involved in the school system, the kids do a lot better academically as well. We understand the research behind all this stuff, so everything we're doing is all data driven, but I don't want to bore anyone by talking about all this data because they just want to hear the realities of what we're trying to put in place. There's accountability for everyone in the system next year. There are three-week checks on administration. We're sitting down talking behavior, attendance, and grades. And any kid who's failing, then there must be a plan written out, and that's with the administration and the teacher. Understand what that plan is to help that kid get back on track. Because again, it won't be a surprise to us at the end of the quarter when the kid's still failing. We'll say this kid, it may have had some challenges. These are the things we put in place. If they don't work, then we try something else to help that student become successful. So, sitting right here, I can tell you, and that's what she was saying earlier, we see our district making some huge gains next year with the formative assessments, if that's around academics. With the other social pieces put in place, I see our kids come to school more, which allows for more learning. having the teachers and administration, having administration in the classrooms, teachers provide engaging instruction in the classroom, you'll see a reduction in discipline. And I can say it right now, today being July 6th, I can say it today because these supports are the right supports that will allow teachers to do the work that they really came to do, teach. It allows students to come to school with an opportunity to be engaged in the learning and to learn. It allows administration to be able to do the work that they are paid to do, support teachers and the learning process. So, so I would say, from my standpoint, again, it's all about the learning. I think I know I have a great team, and I would say to anyone, this is probably the best administrative team I've ever worked with. Okay. a lot of experience here.
We'll find out a lot in September.
We'll find again. September is September, but it's not going to stop us from doing the work that we know we need to do. And what happens there, it happens there. And what I like to say, surely, and I'll tell it to anyone, I come in and build a great relationship with this the teacher union and the leadership here. I come in and build a relationship with the board, but also sharing with the board what are the needs of this community and allowing us to move in a different trajectory. There's no one who can say in the first 75 days this district looks the same as it did 75 days ago.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So again, so if anyone hears that, they'll know we made changes. And again, I think the whole role and notion of a CEO, what is that CEO supposed to do? I think it's the same work that I'm doing right now.
Okay.
And I think really the date to shoot for to see the difference is Christmas more than it is September 15th.
Let's hope Santa's good to you. You were red and black too.
Right. You didn't say the start here, stay here.
Well, another part to it, yeah, David, we have this Start Here, Stay Here campaign for our teachers and for our students. And what we're trying to do is to show and provide the supports for our staff to be able to stay here. And we're also just doing the same thing for our students. And I think if we build these cultures, positive cultures, you have staff that will stay on, because it's not about the money, we know that.
Professional development.
And a professional development and the housing and things like that. The teachers will stay. If we're doing all the right things around enrichment, sports, and extracurriculars around drama and music, we think the kids will stay here as well. So that's the Start Here, Stay Here campaign that we'll be rolling out next month.
All right, I'm gonna shut the camera off.
Okay, thanks.
And
you didn't talk about your